Hey everyone, how's everyone doing out there? All right, Dave had to go put Charles down. Dave will be back in a minute. And I was hoping we get a few more, couple of the people I invited to come in here. Hopefully they'll show up here later. But we got a really interesting show for you tonight. And hopefully it'll be very informative to everybody. And we're going to see how things are going. So while we're waiting for everyone else to show, let's just start with those that are already in here. First in here was Howie of Food Forest Permaculture. And then Courtney from the Wide Family Farm. Kaylin Strain. Michael 58. Vera Campbell, Our Homestead. Hardknack Farms. Southern Blessed Homestead. Stringfield Ridge Farm. Big Dreams Homestead. Sand Hollow Homestead, that's Butch. WD Glock and Roll. Dutch Off-Grid Homestead. And I'm going to stop the roll call here for a second. Guys, check out Dutch Off-Grid Homesteading over in the Netherlands. He needs less than 500 hours now to get monetized. On my other computer, I got a couple of his videos playing to give him time. All right, let's continue on here. Everybody's chit-chatting here back and forth. Pete's Little Homestead. And Pete comes on right after us tonight. All righty, so that's caught up on the roll call there. So tonight's topic is natural disasters that can change the weather. And there are a lot of natural disasters that can change the weather in ways you don't realize. They have done it, they are doing it, and they will continue to do it. Hey, Dave.
Hey.
So, and actually, I'm going to take one moment here for a second here, and I'm going to pop something up here just because it's something I need to do here. So, Dutch Off-Grid Homesteading, there it is. And I'm going to put his channel link in there. Control C. So this is Dutch Off-Grid Homesteading's channel link. So you guys can check him out. You can click on it and open it in a separate window and just let it sit there till we're done. All right.
Yes, Courtney, it did.
Would Courtney ask? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we're going to talk about that and some other stuff that changed it the same type of way. So let's.
Hey, Jay. Hey, Grammy.
Hey, Grammy Karen. Hey, Jay. All right. So, gee, can anybody guess what we're going to talk about first? This is Southern California, looking across the San Fernando Valley. This is miles upon miles upon miles away. And look how big this
home. Good evening.
Hey, our treasure at home. So you can see all the smoke and stuff being put off by that. And we're going to touch on the part of that a little bit here. But yeah, these are going to be the topics we're going to talk about tonight. Fires, earthquakes, volcanoes, global temp cycles, asteroids. Hey, don't forget the one that took out the dinosaurs. CMEs, corona mass ejections, and polar shift. All right, so let's so fires all right, let's just look at last year going on in California and Oregon. What happened with all those fires? Well, I was hoping that Martha would come in here from Old School Prepper. She had a couple of videos showing how the fires were damaging her garden miles away from it. And it just screwed with all that heat going up in the air changes weather patterns, guys. Look what happened down in Australia when they had those huge one going on. Hey, Fishes and Loaves. That's Carol, right? And yeah, so I mean, just fires generally can really do when they get big enough, can totally change local weather patterns for a season or two. And Kaylin, yes, we're going to talk about the magnetic fields with the CMEs and the polar shift. All right, so the next, so fire. You look at all the fireballs going up miles into the air from these fires. You can't say that is not changing the weather pattern. I'm trying to keep up on it. The side chat. Yeah. Yeah, Courtney, there was an incredible loss of life down there in Australia with the animals. But now everyone's thinking, well, that's just California and Oregon. Hey, 15 years ago, the state of Montana was jokingly classified as the entire state was burning. There were so many fires on there in the incident command system. There are basically 4 levels. That had reached the top level of a what's called a complex fire system, and it wasn't just a complex; it was a multiple complex fire systems. And a complex fire system is where they put one person in charge of multiple huge fires. And they had set, so basically that was going on. So there was so much smoke and ash blowing across the United States heading east from that 15, 16 years ago that it was absolutely ugly. Hey, Liberty Garden. And so, yeah, I think we kind of, everyone, I think everyone here gets the idea how bad fires can be. Yeah. All right. Next thing, earthquakes. And I get a lot of pushback from people when I'm talking to them about how earthquakes can change the weather. Everyone thinks, oh, that's just the ground moving. Well, yeah, but the ground moving can cause other problems. You can get rivers blocked off. You can get massive lakes that were, trapped. All of a sudden, a fracture appears, and all of a sudden, all that water goes flowing down out into the ocean. Remember that, folks. We're talking a massive amount of water going into the ocean. And earthquakes can do a lot of damage that way. Not only water going into the ocean, but dirt. And we go on. Some of this is going to be kind of convoluted here, mixed in with other points. When we go talk about the volcano part 2, there is an island off the coast of Northwest Africa and Spain, coming down from the two of them meeting out in the ocean out there. That over 1,000 years ago, it had a massive earthquake, and the dormant volcano that was on there, half the sides slid into the ocean, into the Atlantic current, and disrupted it, and for several years caused weather change. So, where was it? I believe it was on the Klamath River. This was a microclimate event, where the side of the mountain came down into a lake on the Mammoth. I think it was the Klamath or the Mammoth, hit the water, sent it up everywhere, and wiped out a bunch of the trees and stuff. And the whole thing just caused a microclimate shift for several years. And this was about 400 years ago, when the Spanish were still had their exploration and stuff of the Pacific coast. I'm not going anywhere near earthquakes. Sorry, guys. If you live in the United States, you live in an earthquake zone.
Mm-hmm.
Volcanoes. Uncle Al's coming in here. Here's Uncle Al.
Hey, sorry.
Okay.
Guys.
All right, volcanoes. Can anybody tell me from this picture why you think volcanoes might change the weather? Yeah, I know this is a redundant, sarcastic question. I have.
Good. I don't want to answer it.
If you, I know this was working on the my little invitation that went out this morning at noon, where the volcano was showing it blowing and everything, and just this eruption point took about 2 seconds. Now could you imagine it going on for hours? How many tons of debris it's putting into the air? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, hi, Courtney and Dustin.
I gotta put it up there. Okay, where is it? All right, here we go. Yes. All right.
And if you believe in climate change, I got a bridge in New York. I'll sell you.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Let me rephrase that. If you believe climate change is man-made, I got a bridge in New York. I'll sell you.
Yeah.
True.
Climate change is real.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
How often does it actually happen?
But climate change is normal with or without humans in the equation. All right. Oh, jeez. All right, Courtney.
Derailed.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, guys, we have to enjoy. We got to keep happy and smiling. You can't be depressed by this. All right. So,
Carbon filter.
yeah. All right. So, let's look back in recent history as far as this goes. Mount St. Helens. Just everything, even a little bit to the west, but a lot to the east. For that rest of that year had screwed up weather, and I believe a little bit even into the next year as well.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
Mount Tibupumba in the Philippines, one that caused all the typhoons, Mount Timapuma?
something like that.
Yeah, sorry.
And then, but then here's the good one though. The good one was Kilimanjaro. No, not really Kilimanjaro. Krakatoa. Krakatoa. They even wrote a book and a movie on it called Krakatoa East of Java. Well, it's not. It's west of Java. But the explosion was heard around the world. That's why they said it went all the way around. It was heard everywhere in the world. But this debris put out by that massive one, which blew Krakatoa apart, changed the weather for 3 or 4 years around the world.
Yeah, it also affected up to, I think, World War One.
Yeah, they were tracking little changes, but there were major changes for several years. And then, let's see. So we all get it now. Volcanic debris, sulfuric hydrogen sulfide gas, all that stuff can affect the climate. What can we do about it? Nothing. But other than prepare and just make sure you have backup plans. Now the next thing here. Get on to the next one here. All right, going back to earthquake. This is a combination of earthquakes and volcanoes because the big volcanoes cause earthquakes. And this is just from 1900. We're not even going back to Krakatoa.
Gee, it brings back to mind an old Johnny Cash song, Ring of Fire.
Yeah. And so the black dots here, these are over 9.0 earthquakes. So there's 5 of them since 1900. That's 5 of them since my grandmother was born. All right. Now this one here in the middle of the picture here, this red dot here, when I talked about that off the coast of Africa and Spain. That's about the area where that one had the earthquake and the slide and went. and just into the Atlantic current. And we'll show that here in a second here.
You're talking about the Azores?
Not the Azores, but there's another island off here. And see, this is how some of the earthquakes and the tsunami effect from it. Well, you got the Atlantic current right through where that tsunami was going, so it disrupted the Atlantic current slightly just from the earthquake of this thing here. Here's your Atlantic current. It goes up and around. You have the deep water and surface water going around. And then what this isn't showing is the other one that's flowing around the side over here.
Ooh.
Dave.
Dave's above you.
Oh. Yeah, I'm up now. Up. There you go. If y'all remember some of the live streams that I've put up in the past where we've discussed something similar to this, the top part where it says deep water formation, that's above Beaufort Gyre. Probably rendered that, but
yeah.
And by the way, that's slowing down, which is going to cause climate change.
Yeah.
Not your farts or the cow's farts. It's the Beaufort Gyre. And as it slows down, it's going to cause climate change.
Yep. Hi, Mary Beth.
And the last time it had a major slowdown, folks, was up here in Alaska. There was a big old glacial lake that had billions of acre feet of water. And when it finally got warm enough, the glacial dam broke and all that fresh water went into the ocean here and up there. And it basically was like on a steam train, on a steam locomotive, grabbing the brake thing and pulling it back and shoving it into reverse. That was the beginning of the Big Chill Little Ice Age that started in 1354, if I remember my dates right, and continued on past the Revolutionary War and up to just prior to the Civil War.
Oh, what's the Civil War?
Yeah, Civil War, because they say it officially ended in 1857. However, we were still feeling the effects of it. We were still having to warm up from before that. And I got a great chart coming up here. Hopefully, folks, in the next slide. Here it is. See this right here, the Little Ice Age? The medieval warm period back here was ending, and it took the big dip in the 1300s when that thing broke. At this point here, prior to that, along in this area here, England was producing better grapes than France, producing better wines, and France embargoed wine from England, and it's all in historical records. Well, until England can produce better wines than France, we are still recovering. However, if you look on the far right here, it reached a peak here, and we've actually had some dips in temperatures. Not global warming, global cooling. And that goes in hand what Dave said about the, I can't pronounce it, Dave.
Cyclical events?
No, the Beaufort Gyre. Yes. When that slows down, that's what carries all the heat, the warm water coming up from the equator up into the northern reaches of Maine and above to bring all that warm water up, which warms the northern hemisphere.
Okay, now, here's the simple way to remember, folks. It's a 6-year-old's view. If the salinity, the salt content in the ocean changes, we gonna freeze.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
If the salt content in the ocean drops, we gonna freeze.
Yeah. Now, if you look back in history farther to the Rome and classical Greek periods there, hey, it was a lot warmer. And Egypt, a lot warmer.
Hey, guess what? Egypt used to be a subtropical area. Now it's a desert. Gee, I wonder what happened with climate change. It's a cyclical event.
Yeah. And when when that cooled off, all that tropical plants and vegetation died when it got too cold. So, all right, next thing. Asteroids. Oh, yes. Yeah, we're going to go asteroids. But hey, just remember what happened down there in Mexico. And I just had a brain fart on the name of the crater off the Yucatan Peninsula. Yeah.
I don't remember it either.
That is blamed for the death of all the dinosaurs.
Poppycock.
Huh?
Poppycock. But I'm not going to get into biblical history here, so continue.
Yeah. All right. So the that happened, and it threw all debris and everything in the air. Well, they've also discovered something else going on at the same. It happened at the same time. Have you ever heard of the? Oh crap! Just lost the name of it. The Russian basalt flows up there, up in Siberia. The Siberian basalt flows, the lava flows. That was going on at the same time, and all that volcanic activity there was putting billions and billions, if not trillions, of tons of crap in the air as well. So between those two things, there's all this stuff got thrown into the air, and really.
Well, that's actually, we can't literally prove that actually happened. What we can prove is the Tunguska crater, which is in Russia. When that exploded, and that was above ground where it exploded, it actually changed the weather in Russia for about 18 months.
That one too.
That was above ground. The trees still have not recovered in that area. Okay, it is still a wasteland of sorts. Okay, and that was how many years ago? But for about 18 months, the weather in that area was drastically changed.
Yeah.
Also, it's like over 120 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there is, the Tunguska effect. So there are, with the Yucatan Peninsula, they have traced selenium levels,
right,
around the world. But with the Siberian lava flows, they've also traced particles from that match from the lava flow, not completely around the world, but across over into Oregon, Washington, Idaho.
I really need to get a link to a video for you to watch, Gil, so I can educate you.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching a lot of videos on this stuff.
Yeah, this one will change your perception.
Yeah. I'm always open for more information. Can anybody guess what this is in the side chat? Not on the panel. Side chat. I want the side chat to see if they can come up with this one first. All right. Because this is one that has affected the climate on the Earth a lot.
Wait until we have a look over.
All right. Close on there. Dutch has it as a sun flare, solar flare. Yeah. Correct terminology is a CME.
Coronal mass ejection.
Yeah. And so let me take it down a little bit here, back to a different view of it. So when it has you've seen the sunspots, you've seen the pictures of these loops of material going out, and sometimes it really goes out. Well, when it really goes out, basically that's not just light, and it's not just magnetic field going out. It's particles being projected out. And when
and another point of reference too, the scale there is wrong.
Yes, the scale's wrong. This is just for comparison, because the Earth is not that big. No way is the Earth that big. Exactly.
Because when a CME leaves the sun, it can take as many as 2.5 days to reach us.
Yeah.
But it reaches us at a speed of over 700,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So if you think you're going to outrun a CME if it leaves the sun, you think you're going to outrun it. Okay. I got some swampland, I'll say, in Arizona.
Not unless you're a Superman or Captain Marvel.
Right. Everybody remember the Soviets used to put out Venus probe. Well, it got hit by a mask and coronal ejection. They lost that probe to Venus. It got fried.
Yeah. All right. So as you can see, the particles when they hit the
yes, Jay,
the Earth's magnet. Oh, I'm losing it. Getting tongue tied. Magneto. Crap.
Magnetosphere.
Yes. Thank you. Nothing wrong with my tongue tonight, folks. It actually bends the sphere so that it becomes really narrow or, compressed on the side towards the sun as all those particles are impacting it. And just minor particles, just everyday normal little blips off of the sun, like these little ones over in here, causes the northern lights.
In order to fully comprehend what he's trying to explain here with a simple picture and a couple words, you really need to go watch A Suspicious Observers. He has several videos on how the sun affects the Earth. Yep. It's the layman's guide to understanding the sun, and you really need to watch it so you can understand what we're trying to explain in a few short minutes of what it actually takes him about 2 hours to actually explain the full dynamic of what's going on.
Yeah, he put together, he had several videos out, and he compiled everything, and his crew compiled everything together into like a 2 hour and 10-minute video on it.
There is no crew. It's just him.
Well, he was talking about some of the other people he collaborates with.
Yeah,
putting
but he's the one that did all the work.
Yeah. Kalen has suspiciousobservers.org. And that's also his Suspicious Observers is his YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you're wondering how bad this can be of these particles hitting the
magnetosphere.
Yes. You remember someone mentioned it, the Carrington effect.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in
18,
telegraph days. So I think it was after the Civil War.
No, before
the Civil War.
Right.
Okay. I'm just, my brain's just overloaded here. Anyways, if you look up if you look that up, there were stories of ball of lightning traveling along all sorts of fences and everything else, the telegraph wires, all this magnetic electricity, static electricity type stuff traveling everywhere. There were tales of telegraph poles catching on fire and burning, telegraph operator sets exploding from all the energy coming into it. There's also other stories of other telegraph operators that disconnected their system, and just with the static charge that was in the line was able to send messages without it being hooked up to their power source.
Jay, you got it right. Minus 1 year.
Now, mind you, that's not the most recent one. Let's see, there's been 2 in recent memory, 2003 and 2017. We've had issues here on Earth from CMEs.
Okay. It was before the Civil War. It's actually 1859, September 1st and 2nd. What's the duration of it? Here, let me throw this over here. Bingo. Yeah. And shows the events and the stuff. But yeah, it was September 1st and 2nd, 1859. And there is a lot of information out on that. Oh, yes, I forgot about that, Jay. Boom. Because the steel rails Some actually heated up. And that, iron is not a good conductor, not like the copper wires. But it would heat up in some areas and enough to make the railroad ties catch on fire.
And yeah, we know it sounds like a bunch of Hollywood myths, but hey, it's recorded history.
Mm-hmm. Almost made a derogatory remark about something going on currently, but no, we're not going to talk about that. No. All right. So the other thing to consider too is that when these, you get to verify this information, check with suspicious observers, and all the scientific papers he quotes in his videos. These particles and stuff can have such a dramatic effect on the magnetic sphere of the Earth that it can actually cause another problem. And
here's what he's trying to tell you. The Earth's magnetosphere is actually failing at the moment. We're down 15% from where we were at the turn of the century, for the early 1900s, I should say. We're down about 15% from where we were then. Doesn't sound like much, but that 15% is allowing, along with the rotation and wobble of the Earth, for storms, i.e. hurricanes, to become more prevalent. It's not man's throwing cow farts into the air. It is a cyclical event. And the fact that our magnetosphere is starting to weaken, it is allowing more coronal particles to enter our atmosphere, which causes certain storms to become a little more severe. Continue.
And along with the magnetosphere weakens, it also comes to the fact that the magnetic poles start moving around, and this is the tracking of it. The poles from 1900 currently, and how it's been moving from Canada across here. This black dot here. This is the geographic North Pole. So it's been moving this way here, and you look how much it's moved in the last 20 years compared to the 100 years before. So, and what happens is if it moves enough, it can cause what's called a polar shift or a polar flip.
And you don't want to be on this planet when the poles flip completely and stay flipped.
Yeah.
There is what they call magnetic excursions. Which is where the poles will meet kind of in the middle and then literally snap back into the normal place. When I say snap it to us, it'll be a few years worth, but in the Earth's geological history, it'll be pretty quick. Mm-hmm. We'll survive that. But if the Earth's magnetic field were to completely flip, north to south, south to north, every geographical region would experience drastic change. And if you want to understand that, you really need to go check out Suspicious Observers. Can't remember the name of the series. It's a 4 or 5 part series. I can't remember if you put it in one full long video or not. Oh, the catastrophe series. There is actually a CIA paper done on it that was blacked out and for your eyes only type stuff. It has been recently uncovered.
Declassified.
And I know it sounds, no, not quite declassified. There's still some redacted pages in their version of it. But if you really want to understand what I'm trying to explain, you really need to go watch that series. I know it sounds like a bunch of fantasy, but when the geological history of this planet states that it's already happened once, there's a high probability, considering we're heading in that direction again, for it to happen yet again. Doesn't mean it's going to happen in our lifetime.
No.
But that also doesn't mean it will or won't.
Yeah. It's a good idea, folks, to train your kids to use a sextant.
Because your compasses, something like that. Compasses are even getting off now. They're having to do updates for the
GPS,
the topographical maps. So if you're using compass trying to do orienteering, you have to download the latest deviance on it so you don't get lost. And my scouts, in the time I was a scoutmaster, it was, oh, we're at this here when we started, and the last year I was there, it was like, wait a minute, it's a couple degrees off now, even, so they've had to learn to check to find out what the current deviance is. But
Jay, why do you think they've built them great big huge bunkers underground? They think it'll save them.
Yeah. The other thing too on this is, I got distracted with Jay. The wobble.
Josh.
The wobble of the Earth with the shift of the magnetic poles, and because the magnetic poles is also pushes and drives and is driven by the magna flow beneath the surface. It has shifted a little bit. That I know some of you guys out there on the homesteading channels have mentioned it. How the sun, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, used to go take a certain path and used to their gardens. I can't remember who was talking about their garden used to get sun the entire time. But now all of a sudden, some buildings out there that haven't changed are now shading it part of the time. So, yeah, the Earth's wobble has changed a little bit. So the pattern, the pathway of the sun in the sky has, quote, changed because of the tilt of the Earth has changed. All right, Pete asked the question here. Is the magnetic motion why our winters are not as bad now as they were back in the 60s and 70s?
Well, let me preface that by saying this. For those who remember back in the 60s and 70s, I am one of those children, unfortunately. The winters in Michigan used to be pretty severe. I mean, getting 4 or 5 foot of snow in a month's time was normal. Now they ain't getting as much. They still get it, but not like they used to. Here in Ohio, where I'm at back then, they used to have some pretty horrible winters, but not so much anymore. So part of that's due to the Earth's wobble like a drunken sailor around the sun. Part of it is also due to the solar effects that we receive due to our weakening magnetosphere.
Now, while some areas are getting less, severe winters, others are getting more severe winters. When I was growing up in California, in the 60s, we never had freezing winters. We had foggy winters and cold, but in the 80s and 90s, we've been getting a lot of freezing temperatures there in the San Francisco Bay Area, whereas before we didn't. So, one area, as the wobble changes and the thing, some areas improve, other areas get worse. So all you can do on something like this, make sure you
just prepare yourself.
You prepare yourself, plant enough to harvest. Count on shorter growing seasons, even if your area they're actually getting longer or not. But count on something happening on your growing season. So stock up more food, can it?
What? Go ahead, Git. Sorry.
Yeah, just go. Make sure you just have the supplies you need for a couple years of bad gardening seasons.
You want enough food for 2 growing seasons, folks.
Yeah. Or if you want to go biblical, back to the days of Joseph and the coat of many colors in Egypt.
7 years.
They had 7 bad years. All right. And what do I have next here? It is. All right. So, guys, what other things are there that other natural disaster events that change the weather? So cow farts.
Hey, they brought it up, not me. I'm just reiterating what they said.
Yeah, I know. And
how about flooding?
I wasn't going to comment on somebody saying they didn't have enough large butt masks for their cows.
How about flooding?
So flooding, storms and stuff can actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Precipitate, exasperate a changing weather system. Sort of like
Provided the flood itself is over. The easiest way to explain it. All right, let's say, for whatever reason, part of Death Valley floods, and that water doesn't recede right away. Let's say the water stays in Death Valley for 2 weeks. That 2 weeks worth of water in Death Valley will evaporate, putting a ton more moisture in the air. As the wind blows it eastward and that moisture starts to condensate, areas east of that, by a state and a half away, will see torrential downpours because of the flood in Death Valley. People don't, you really need to do a lot of homework and understanding geology and weather patterns and the like in order to see where something so little like 500 square miles of flood would drastically affect all the way over to New York City.
Also, a good point is, remember Katrina and the whole city of New Orleans and the southern parishes?
Never heard of it.
Gil, you used to work over there.
Oh yeah. And now, actually, believe it or not, worse than Katrina that year was Rita put more water, on shore. So yeah, there's a lot of things that will affect it. It's like a catch-22. This causes this to happen, which causes this to happen, which causes this to happen, which brings you back to make the first event worse, which makes it around again until something interrupts that cycle. And that's what can happen with certain microclimates, and where microclimates then expand their sphere of influence, and make things worse. There can be, I'm trying to remember the area. I'm pretty sure it's North Africa, where they used, part of the Sahara Desert used to be lush green, and it's receded back away because of the changes of the weather patterns there. And as it moves back and there's less greenery there, the next year it moves back faster, because there's less moisture and stuff to carry out around to the areas around it. And that's where a lot of scientists and environmentalists are saying is going to happen down in South America with all the deforestation going on down there. But that's not natural. That could be possibly man-made. I mean, that is man-made, and there could be other possible side effects that'll turn it from a, quote, man-caused natural disaster to expirate, and that's going to be a whole headache. And South America,
like the Dust Bowl, folks, or Owens Valley, or Tulare Lake. People forget Tulare Lake was one of the biggest west of the Mississippi freshwater lakes, and guess what California did to it? Yep, they drained it like Owens Valley. So we're going to have wildfires. Wait. It is already past 100 years.
All right, we've got a couple more people have come in here. Keto Homestead with Jess has come in. Cecilia's come in. Cecilia Jansen's come in. Butch came in at the beginning. Let's see. I'm just trying to think. Oh, Bob 942's come in.
Right.
And I saw some others I wanted to mention. Of course, Jay. We've been talking with Jay about things. And Josh the prepper is in, and a couple others. Hey guys, just want to welcome you all in.
Oh, did we talk about insurance yet?
No.
Okay, folks.
Don't spend your money on it. Tuck it under your bed mattress and save it for when the economy collapses and use it then.
Okay, if you do make sure you check your policy, because some of them don't cover on natural causes like which side? I think
that's Dave.
Dave's talking, and he's correct. So make sure your policy covers certain things. If not, you're going to be what?
Go ahead.
Okay, most policies don't cover it. If you're like, I think WD had a windstorm and his neighbor's cars got all flattened by giant trees. Okay, you got to know what your policy will cover. Some policies don't cover atomic warfare, earthquakes, volcanoes, acts of nature. That's not what they call it. Gil, what's that term?
Act of God.
Act of God. So you got to make sure your policy is exact and it takes care of all your stuff inside the house and all the stuff outside on the property, or you're going to have a big headache when you recover.
Now, one of the talking about insurance, the two biggest loopholes built in is earthquakes and floodplain. If you're in a floodplain, you have to get specific flood insurance for it. If you're in California, you have to get specific earthquake insurance. Same thing in Alaska, you have to get specific earthquake insurance. There are some of the newer policies that they're offering these. Oh, lower, same coverage, lower rates. No, it's not the same coverage because there's little in the fine print. They're excluding certain things to deal with acts of nature, act of God. Little things that are laying out specifically, such as high windstorms causing damage to your roof, internal flood, inside flooding from storms leaking through your roof. Some of them are doing it. So your insurance policy may, I'm covered for this. I've always been covered for this, but I may got this new deal, got it lower. Well, now you're not covered for some of those things.
I like what Courtney said.
I just like what Carol said there. I'm not sure I'll be having my paperwork for filing on that one. What did Courtney say? Oh, hers didn't cover her car during the Civil War.
Keep speaking prophetically. Go ahead, keep.
Yeah, boy.
Liberty Insurance. His insurance, Liberty Garden just said his insurance just covered $4,000 of rat damage to his truck. Cool. He got covered. So let's go down here.
All right, Jay.
Oh,
they have a Godzilla clause too. No joke, they do have it.
Yeah.
Not getting attacked by a giant monster. It's called because of the earthquake damage. And remember the 2011 earthquake they had at the
power plant?
Right. Everybody had insurance, and the Japanese government got off the hook, but unfortunately gave like $1 trillion insurance headache to the Japanese insurance industry because all the Japanese put down tidal wave and nuclear power plant failure. And the insurance companies got ripped. I mean,
yeah. And you got to be careful. Some companies, you make a claim, they cancel your insurance. There are ways to fight that.
Yeah, that's why I won't deal with State Farm no more.
Nope.
Had a lightning strike down the road, took out a TV, a PlayStation, router, a computer, and now they won't insure me. Act of God, but it was my fault.
Yeah.
Like I said, folks, every year check your insurance policies because you don't know what these jokers are planning up to. They could change your policies. Well, you're in the wrong kind of area, or the wrong kind of person, and you don't make enough money. And then you said, what? I paid you guys $500 this month. Too bad. Bye.
All right. So let me go back to this one here just for laughs and giggles. I'm going to bring this up here. So from the start, this is one of the first slides, those that came in later. Hey, this is Southern California, down there where Steve at Corsair Trainer lives. I'm giving Steve a bad time. He tagged me after the fact on a video VR from Ontario Homestead. And so he was talking about, he was in his videos, he was going about what nice weather they have there. Well,
right. Didn't it snow on Mount Baldy?
Yeah.
About 2 feet.
All right. So let me go ahead and pull that off. I just don't want to throw that back up. As fires is something that can definitely cause your weather to change. Even maybe only be for 1 year or 2 years, but not only does it cause the weather to change, it can also cause, if you're in the path of all that smoke and ash and everything, just like a volcano can, the ash cloud from a volcano, it can change your the pH of your garden.
It'll sterilize your ground.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So one other quick thing here, if I can throw it up here real quick, and all right. So let me go pull this one up.
Our treasured home. I would be very cautious of using any of those apps like that. I've tested a few using a unique hacker way of blocking who I really was. And some of them are, but I don't recommend it because they all store your information and ABC groups have access to that information. So all you're doing is helping them compile a file on you.
Right, like the CCP.
All right. Okay, guys. So before we cut out here, got some quick updates here. So Tuesday, for Technical Tuesday, the talk is clothing supplies. What do you need for winter? Next Friday, we're going to talk about how to utilize your food storage. Following Tuesday is going to be what is your dream specialty gear? And then on the 29th, Friday, is going to be a special. It may wind up being a 2-hour live stream on the 29th, and that is the fragile food supply chain. And we got a lot of information on it, on that one specifically. So that may run long on that Friday there. But for tonight now, and let me go ahead and throw this in here. This link I just put in there is for Pete's little homestead. He's coming up next. That's the link for him. So Pete's coming up here next. Oh, Jay, so we're going to have a big long one on your birthday, huh? All righty. So everyone, there's another channel I came out. I wanted to mention. In fact, it was Deb's and Rich Refuge. So, guys, she's got a question there. In fact, before we get, what about arson caused fires that take out 1,000 acres?
Fire is fire. The ash it produces, it doesn't matter if it's from arson or lightning strike, it still creates the same issue.
I think she's also talking about insurance purposes, though.
Right.
Check arson, your policies. Some policies
a lot of those people out there lost everything.
Yeah. Some have they've added into them saying there's been a change to your policy, and in the fine print they've that's not covered arson fires, that are elsewhere that come across that turn into wildfires. They've added some of those on some of them. So with that, let me go ahead and pop that off there. All right, so we're going to wrap this up here tonight. Any last words, Al?
No, we're okay. We covered most of it correctly.
Yeah. Dave?
Nope.
All righty then. So everyone, head on over there to Pete's little homestead. You'll get, looks like you may have a minute or two before Pete fires it off. So take your break, talk to Mother Nature, and be back for Pete's here in a couple minutes.
Hydrate. Gotta hydrate.
Yeah, hydrate. Yep. Hydrate. And everyone, stay happy, stay safe, stay prepared, and we'll see you next time around.